Hey YouTube, it's Sean with Griffin RC Planes. So I got a comment with a request, and I really like the request, so please keep them coming. The question was, I have a AR636 receiver that currently has a plane program file in it that has a delta wing or V-tail, and what would be the simplest way to change it to a normal plane, one aileron and one flap? And that means be two Y harnesses. Even though there's two servos for, one for the left aileron, one for the right aileron, even though two servos, it's using a Y cable, so it'd be using one channel. So that's called one aileron. And then one flap is the same thing. There's still two servos, one for right flap, one for the left flap, but one channel would be controlling both, so there would be a Y servo harness for that. So that's called, one aileron and one flap. Change it from a delta wing to that. What would be the most simplest way? Well, I want to do it with you. So I took my Spektrum AR636 and other receivers USB program cable, and I loaded the OPTERRS 2-meter bind and fly basic EFL 11500, I think. Yep, EFL 11150. It's discontinued, but I loaded that into a 636A. And then I took my NX8 that I rarely ever use, but it was good to use in this situation because I could load the OPTERRS, transmitter files right up. So I don't need to, even though I printed out some of the manual, I didn't need to program the OPTERRS into the transmitter. I just found OPTERRS and tap, and then it was in there. The dual rates were set up, the channel assignment was set up, ready to go. So I have the OPTERRS loaded up. I've got my display testing plane right here. I only have the right and left ailerons plugged up. There's nothing on the rudder or the elevator, which I'll show you shortly. The transmitter's on. I just turned on the plane. You can see it did 2 dances. That means safe select is available. And right, left, up, down. I'm going to give it some throttle to activate the AS3X. Boom! All right. So now the gyro is active. And you can see it going here. Okay, and then safe select is on, so you're about to crash, and it's going crazy trying to right side you up. Turn safe off, and now it's not trying to flip you over. You're flying, and the sun got in your eyes. You're about to hit the grass. You hit safe, bang, the ailerons go full deflection to flip you over. So let's together convert this OPTERRS to a normal plane using the Spektrum USB cable. Let's do it together. This is how we do it. So this is my demo plane, test plane, just a foam board plane that I made to tinker with, fiddle with, learn, test servos, test things. Let's start right here with a part of the instruction manual for the OPTERRS that I printed out the channel assignment. Channel 1 for throttle, channel 2 for right elevon, channel 3 for left elevon. And then you look at my 636 here, and I've got the battery pack plugged into one, and then I just using channel 2 and channel 3. Channel 2 for the right elevon, channel 3 for the left elevon. You can see servo lead going to that servo lead going to that servo, and then there's nothing leading to the back here. There's the elevator servo with the dead lead and the rudder servo with a dead lead. And then my NX8 here that says OPTERRS 2 meters. That was already all in the NX8. That's one really cool feature about that transmitter. Here's the USB program cable. So next we're going to go to the computer and plug this 636 up into the Spektrum programmer and make some changes. Let's go. Well, before we go, we'll watch the OPTERRS operate fly for the last couple minutes of its life before it becomes a one aileron and one flap. The first thing you want to do is go to SpektrumRC.com, and from there you'll need to log into your account. You've got to be logged in to the Spektrum RC website and your account in order to do things with the programmer. Okay, so just log into the account and then just minimize this screen, and then the Spektrum programmer is what we're going to use, not the updater, the programmer. Let me show you something real quick. There's many ways to download the Spektrum programmer and the updater at Horizon Hobby or Tower Hobbies, where you buy the 636 receiver. In the manuals and support you can find downloads, or here on the Spektrum page under support, the PC downloader here. Okay, so that's one way to get it. So now we have the Spektrum program pulled up. Okay, I've got the Spektrum USB program cable, and I've got it connected to an extension cord. That's all that is. So we'll plug it in the computer so you can hear it go. So now you know you got the program cable active. Now this is very important. Disconnect your battery or your speed control. Disconnect it. I'm telling you this from experience. If you accidentally turn on the battery while the computer is powering it, your computer is bad and your receiver is bad. So I'm disconnected. Don't trust your switch, period. Okay. Now you take your program cable and you plug it into the very first port, the bind. Okay, if you were looking at it and from left to the right, that it's channel 1 through 6, 1 being on the left, 6 on the right. The very far left, the first one, is labeled bind prog. And I'll record the computer screen here in a minute. So we've plugged up the receiver to the cable. I know the battery is disconnected. The next thing we're going to do is power the cable, the top right button, and then in the middle there's a warning about the battery, and then power the cable again. It says, it says make sure no battery, and then gives you the option to power it again. So power cable. What are you saying? He said subscribe. Ready. The 636 is plugged into the USB program cable. We're now going to power, and we have the Spektrum programmer app pulled up. We have zeroed out the previous model that was in the programmer in a computer, and the OPTERRS is in the 636 right now. So the top right, power cable. This is where it warns you again about the battery. Power cable. Here we are. The model settings on the device don't match those on the computer. Which would you like to use? We want to use the device because the other choice is computer. Alright, so now let's see if the OPTERRS is in the computer. So we go up here to dashboard, and you can see that this is definitely the OPTERRS because it shows all the gains. Remember, we zeroed out the model in the computer. Now we know this is the OPTERRS for sure. Well, the question was, how do I do one aileron, one flap? Down here at aircraft type is where you can pick what wing type, dual aileron or normal. Okay, right now you see that this is a delta wing configuration. Well, click normal, and there's your one aileron. And then to give you flaps port assignment, and you see over here to the far right that it just shows four channels are assigned. But you would go down here and say take auxiliary 1 and make it port 6, and now you have 6 active channels, and you can use channel 6 for your flaps, and you would set those up in your transmitter. However, the problem is all your gains are set up for the OPTERRS, so you would have a funky flying plane unless those gains just happen to work out. If you've made it this far, I would, at this point, if I wanted one aileron and one flap, I'd go to models. I would reset this receiver to 0. We can go to the dashboard to check. Now you see that everything is zeroed out. The OPTERRS is gone. And at this point, you can do all the gains you want to do, just as if you're doing forward programming, but you do it right here. Or you can pick a plane that has one aileron, one flap, and then make adjustments from there. For example, models, go back to models and then import. And I had a Carbon Z Cub already in here. So now a Carbon Z Cub is available. We can click select, and then to see if the Carbon Z Cub is now in the receiver, go to dashboard, and you can see that all the gains and stuff have changed. Now this is definitely the Carbon Z Cub is now in this receiver. So now you've got one aileron, one flap, and you can make adjustments on your gains and all that stuff, for your liking. If the plane you're flying is about the same size as a Carbon Z Cub, you're probably really close. All right, back to the other computer or camera. Here we are back in the workshop, and I've got the test plane set up a little bit differently. This is still bind as the OPTERRS, but I've got number 1 channel going to my battery pack. Number 2 is going to a Y harness split off to each aileron. And then 3 is going back to the elevator. 4 is going back to the rudder. 5 is empty. Channel 6 is a Y harness going to these 2 servos right here to act as flaps. I've got the transmitter cut on. It's on OPTERRS still. That looks great. And then we'll turn on the airplane. We haven't changed anything as far as the OPTERRS in the transmitter. But it's got the Carbon Z Cub in the receiver. So then right and left aileron, elevator, rudder, and then the little servos up front, flaps. So that is a way to get, well, we'll talk about that here directly. All right, guys, well, that is a way to put one aileron and one flap in your AR636 receiver. That was a Delta Wing V-tail, and that's another way to get you comfortable with programming it through the Spektrum programmer. That's a lot of trial and error, and it's just a lot of fiddling with it. That foam board test plane I made really came in handy when I was learning that. You can leave your plane connected to the well, what am I saying? The plane can be connected to the USB cable, and all those settings, gains and travel and reversing of the servos and all that, you can see happen actively on your plane. The same exact, just like you're setting up a model with any other receiver from your transmitter. You want 15 millimeters up and down on your elevator or something. you're watching it right there on your computer or on the transmitter computer screen. Well, now you're watching on your real computer screen, if that makes any sense. But all right, this is Simba. I got 2 cats and a dog. That's the family. Hey guys, I can't say thank you enough. I really appreciate it. I got tons and tons and tons more of stuff like I just showed you. I got a lot of it. So, okay, hey, until next time, get your booty out of my face. You'll see me here. Thank you.